Hi folks, this video is about narratives in arguments. So using storytelling to help persuade and convince people of our ideas and opinions. Um, so one of my goals for you as writers, as well as part of this research project, is your ability to state and develop your own perspective. So it's not enough just to say like, hey, here's what I think. You have to say, hey, here's what I think and here's why I think it. Here's how I might convince other people to understand, maybe not believe in, but at least understand my own perspective and where we're coming from. And to do that, we're going to use a thing called rhetoric. You might have heard the term before, but basically what rhetoric is the art of persuasive and effective language use. It's using words well, right? Instead of if like painting is the art of painting, right? Rhetoric is the art of writing and speaking and using words effectively. Because remember that writing an argument and practicing this idea is an expression of opinion. And so it's not just kind of a one-off paper. It's something that I want you to be able to do throughout the rest of your life, right? You're going to have to talk to people and express your opinion and try to convince people of things and communicate well in this world. And so that's really what we're practicing here. And so to highlight this, I want you to think back on your old English classes and which were you most likely to stay interested in? Which were the most engaging lessons in English, previous English classes? Was it when you were reading like research, facts and statistics and articles, or when you were reading novels? And my guess for most of you, people are drawn to English mostly because of the stories, not because we read and write argumentative papers, but because we get to engage with interesting characters, right? And that's why the idea of bringing narrative elements to your argument writing can be really effective. Because yes, research is super important, facts and statistics, citations, super important, but to keep people engaged, truly, we should be able to tell a good story. So if you want to see this in writing, I want you to go ahead and press pause and read both of these introductions to a theoretical paper. Did you do it? Cool. Well, first thing I want to point out is they're both excellent forms of writing. They are both well written. However, if I'm thinking about what am I going to use as a hook or an introduction to this concept about my opinion on, well, not my opinion, but this student's opinion on the term Latinx, this is good, but my eyes start glossing over a little bit because of the language that's being used, right? It's well written. I am going to give it that. But as an introduction, I think the second one is much more catchy. Like we've got dialogue, we've got a story creating, we've got some description, we've got some punchy sentences like silence followed. That's strong writing, right? I'm engaged. I want to read more and I want to see this person's personal experience with this language and their opinion about this term Latinx. So to do that, or the reason why we do that is something called the rhetorical triangle, right? So if rhetoric is using language well, here are the pieces and parts that we should include in our writing to make sure that we're effectively communicating with our audience. So do notice that logic and reason are really important. Those facts, those statistics, those citations, those research papers, that's all critical. We have to back up our information with credible information. However, there's another two pieces that we can use to effectively write. Number one is you can establish your credibility by using facts and statistics, but also by kind of explaining how you have a personal connection, right? If you're if you have firsthand experience with how your research topic or how your argument or opinion has affected you or people around you, that makes you more credible because you have experience with it, right? And also we need to bring in that emotional appeal, right? I'm not just going to listen to facts and statistics. I'm going to listen to stories, that personal connection. I want to see that. I want to feel that in my writing and as I'm listening to different opinions and perspectives. So as we do this, we're going to be using I, but in a purposeful way, right? Think about you're writing a story about a personal connection or experience to your topic. And you're going to mix those storytelling elements of characters, characterization, plot, and setting in with facts and statistics. So it's going to be like this blend of research and creative writing that's going to emphasize all three parts of this rhetorical triangle, right? So the narrative appeals to the emotion and the credibility, and the facts and figures that you're pulling in from your research appeal to logic and also to credibility as well. But just make sure you don't overdo the narrative part of it, right? I don't want to read 90% short story, 10% argument. Really, it should be, 50-50 at most, and then maybe a little bit lighter on the narrative elements, so we still get that full effect of like, hey, I've done my research. Because that's what I want to see as well. Have you done your research, not just can you tell a good story? It's really effective when you can do both. All right, so different types of narratives that you might want to use. I've got these, I've got some linked here in my slideshow if you want to open those up on Google Classroom. First one is just like the traditional linear model. We've got an introduction, rising action, a climax, and then a resolution, right? So I'm going to be telling the story, and as I'm telling the story, I'm going to be introducing facts and figures as we go through that. If you want to see what that looks like in writing, take a look at that link. Second one is a frame story. I've never seen a framed story used in an argument, but just so you know what it is, it's a similar, it's like a story within a story. So Winnie the Pooh is a story within a story. The Princess Bride is the story within a story. If you don't know what either of those two movies are, or novels, or I guess stories are, take a time machine, go back to your childhood, watch them. Your life's going to be great. We could have a fractured narrative where we're kind of going along with a traditional linear story, and then we use like flashbacks, or maybe you're writing your argument and you're using flashbacks to time, bringing up an idea where this particular concept or issue is relevant in your life. And then the last one of the ones that I think is most effective, is the circular idea, where I'm going to begin and end in the same spot, like a singular idea that I'm going to start and end with. Like brings really good cohesion and conclusion to stories. Because remember how in conclusions you're supposed to kind of echo your introduction and kind of reframe your thesis. That's really strong if you also reframe kind of a narrative element to it. So I really recommend you take a read through the circular narrative structure that's used in the linked article here. All right, so last thing I want you to do, grab out your notes and brain dump. I want to make sure that you can try to remember what rhetoric is, what the rhetorical triangle is, what the narrative is, and maybe even brainstorm how could I pull some personal introductions or personal information and use it to emphasize my point or my perspective in the conclusion of my research paper. All right, good luck.